Now this is where I'm going to change it up on you. Your R can be negative. It's so weird, but this is only in polar world. So you're going between two different worlds. So when your R is negative, that means we need to reflect the radius. Okay. So here's some instructions I took straight from your textbook. Start with raising R off the polar axis by the angle. So always graph this first, your angle theta. Notice that R is the distance, and distance is always positive. But since it's a negative, it's talking about a reflection. So we'll do an exact example so it makes more sense. But I'm going to go to my angle. I'm going to count up to whatever my R was. So let's just stay here. But because it's negative, I'm going to reflect it over the origin, which is really interesting to know from right now. This was known as our origin in our rectangular world, our rectangular system. Now it's known as our pole. Forgive that terrible handwriting. Let's do that again. Pole and polar systems. All right, so let's just do one. So see it here, it says plot -3 and 2 pi over 3. So the first thing is always plot angle first. So I'm going to go to 2 pi over 3. So remember how the circle's working. You know, this is 0, pi over 2, pi, 3 pi over 2. And this one, whoever knows why, but I got attached to using this one. This one just doesn't have the pi over 4 line. So this would be pi over 6. This would be pi over 4. This would be pi over 3, pi over 2. And here is that 2 pi over 3. So I'm at my angle. This is my angle, 2 pi over 3. Now on that angle, I count 1, 2, 3. The problem is it's a -3. So I want to reflect it over that pole. 1, 2, 3. This is where that coordinate would end up. So let's try another example that will be similar to your homework. So make sure you check this out before you do the homework question, because usually students get confused on what this question is asking. So I have a bunch of different coordinates, polar coordinates here, and I want to match them with if they belong to where A is located, B is located, C is located, or D is located. So they'll have multiple answers. So A, let's just actually write what that would be. A here is known, well, remember we always write our radius first. So it's 9 and pi over 6. Well, I can also see that D is going out 9 as well. But let's think about it. And I haven't gotten to my choices at all, but if I'm at this quadrant, so let's create a quadrant for us. If I'm in the 4th quadrant, right, and I know that this angle is still, that reference angle is still pi over 6, that means if I'm in that 4th quadrant, my denominator needs to be 6, then I would be at 11 pi over 6. If I'm B, again, your reference angle is still the same. We're at 9, but now this one would be 5 pi over 6. And C would be 9, and this would be 7 pi over 6. Okay, so let's start with the ones that we can do straightforward. Well, here's this option of 9, 7 pi over 6. We just said that's C. So I'm going to go ahead and put 9, 7 pi over 6 right here. You can drag it when you're working with MyMathLab. All right, so that one's pretty straightforward. It looks like D, right? We said it was 9, 11 pi over 6. And then all the other ones, oh, does look like I can do B as well. Here's 9, 5 pi over 6. You will be dragging these coordinates to where A, B, C, and D are. All right, well, now we're getting more interesting, and we want to talk about either negative R's or negative angles. So let's focus where our angles are negative, which it looks like it's only going to be this one. Well, so if I were going to plot that one, remember, go to your angle first. Negative 11 pi over 6 would be all the way here. And then you would count out 9. So you'd end up right here. So that's why this one would be A. And maybe I should have done it like this, actually. I'll put A underneath it because I won't have enough space. So I'm going to go back. This is B. This is C. And this is D. Okay, so we took care of that one. Okay, so now let's focus on, now let's just go in order, I guess. I'll focus on this one. Negative 9 and negative pi over 6. So just give us a visual. Always go to the angle first. Negative pi over 6 is down here. So you're somewhere here. You want to count out 9. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Because I don't have polar graph paper right now. This is how you do it if you didn't want to print off polar graph paper. All right, the problem is I don't end up here because my R is negative. So I need to reflect over the pole. So I end up here. So that option is B. All right, let's go ahead and now look at this one. Okay, well, 5 pi over 6. I'm going to use a highlighter. 5 pi over 6, I'd end up on this line, right? I want to count out 9. So I'm at B. However, it's a negative 9. So I need to reflect. And that's why I end up at D. All right, let's try the next circle. Okay, now I'm looking here. All right, I'm going to go to pi over 6. So that's this angle. I'm going to count out 9. So I end up at A. However, it's a negative 9. So I'm going to reflect over the pole and I end up at C. Now, why don't you go ahead and pause and see if you can figure out where negative 9, 7 pi over 6 would be. Would it end up at being at A, B, C, or D? Hopefully you paused it. So I'm going to go to, so I'm looking at this one right now. 7 pi over 6 is this angle. I go at 9, I'm at C, but I got to reflect it. So I end up at A. So again, what you're going to do when you're doing this on MyMathLab is you're going to select this point and drag it to where it needs to be.